Welcome everyone, Insight Meditation Community of Charlotte. I'm Clyde, one of the Dharma leaders here at IMC Charlotte. And we just welcome everybody that is showing up through the Zoom account that we have here. Tonight I'm going to start off by telling you a story. And the story was from Ajahn Amaro, and it was about Ajahn Chah. And Ajahn Chah was one of the principal teachers in the Thai forest tradition, which is our lineage that we practice here. And so Ajahn Amaro said at one time, Ajahn Chah was going to visit a branch monastery, and it was close to the Cambodian border. And the road to get to this monastery was through these hills and everything. And it was a narrow little dirt road, and it was on the side of edges and real narrow and just swervy and twisty and turning. And they were in a small pickup truck, and in the back of the pickup truck were several monks. In the cab of the little truck was the driver, Ajahn Chah, and this young Western monk. And as they were going through this driver was just barreling through there, just swerving and doing this. And the young monk was sitting there going, I'm going to die. We're going to die. We're going to go over the side of this thing. We're going to run into someone coming up, and we're not going to be able to pass them. And the whole time he was just like, this is crazy. And he would look over at Ajahn Chah, and he would say, and he would look over at Ajahn Chah, and Ajahn Chah is just sitting there looking out the window. So they keep on going, and they eventually get to the monastery safely, and they're there, and Ajahn Chah turns and looks to the young Western monk, and he has a smile on his face, and he says, "Scary ride, huh?" And so I feel like I'm on a scary ride right now. I think we're all on a scary ride right now. This idea of we're in this very unusual times. I think we have this, obviously we're in a pandemic. That's why we're doing this. Hopefully people have people that are well, but where do you go out? What do you wear? What do you do? How do you contact people? What do you do during this time? We're having economic uncertainty resulting from this. What people are losing their jobs, what businesses are going to be remaining, what's going to happen, how long it's going to take for us to get out of this. We have this consistent systemic racial injustice that we have in our country that we can't seem to get through. There's a lot of political divisiveness in our country right now. It's very acute. And given that this is an election year, it's just going to get worse. So given all these things, I feel like I'm on this scary ride. So my question is, how do we be like Ajahn Chah? How can we find some equanimity in this world today? And that's what I want to talk about tonight. I'm going to be talking about the concept of equanimity. I'm going to look at what it is, and then we're going to talk, and then I'm going to tell you about some practices from the teachings that I've been using over the past several months now to help define some of that equanimity in today's world. So equanimity itself, as many of you know, the Pali is the language that was spoken at the time of the Buddha. And so the Pali language, equanimity has two words that come from that. It can be translated from the one that many of you are familiar with is called upekkha. And that means to look over, and refers to equanimity that rises from the power of observation, the ability to see clearly without being caught by what we see. This refers to a type of spaciousness from being able to see the big picture. So that's one translation, upekkha. The second word is tatra maja tata, and that means to stand in the middle of this. This equanimity refers to balance, and you will, it refers to being able to remain in the center of the middle of whatever is happening in this moment. That refers to like this non-reactivity. So balance and non-reactivity. And this comes from some inner strength and stability. So you have those two concepts there of this spaciousness, being able to look out over things, and also to be in the middle of everything with whatever's happening. Equanimity has also been defined as perfect, unshakable balance of mind rooted in insight. The Buddha described a mind filled with equanimity as abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility, and without ill will. Now, I'm not quite there yet. And the idea of equanimity is very prevalent in the Buddhist teachings. Most of you are probably familiar with it. It's the fourth of the four Brahma Viharas. There's loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and then equanimity. And in this context, equanimity is also is used as a way to balance out the other Brahma Viharas. Equanimity is one of the 7 factors of enlightenment. It's a characteristics of the 4th jhana, if you go into that deep meditation. And there's also an equanimity practice, just like we have a metta practice, our loving kindness practice, and we'll be doing some of that tonight, the equanimity practice. But the idea being is that as we develop our practice, as we continue on the path, we begin to see where as we develop equanimity, we hopefully get to the point where we have less suffering. But it takes a lot of time. This is our practice. This is what we do. We're working toward that. We get a little bit of equanimity as we go along. But what do I do if I want some equanimity right now? What do I do when I need something right now? And that's what I want to talk about tonight. What are some practices that I can do now to help me find that balance, to find that non-reactivity? And these come from the teachings. And a lot of it has to do with perspective. What are the teachings telling me where I have what perspective can I have on what's going on? So I'm going to have 5 things. The first thing is, according to the Buddha, the way to bring about equanimity is wise attention. And that's our mindfulness, that's our meditation practice, that's our mindfulness practice. And Gil Fronsdale, I came across what he was talking about, and I said, that's what I'm doing. He described a practice that I'm doing. He says, we can practice equanimity by studying the ways that we get caught. Instead of pursuing the ideal of balance and non-reactivity directly, we give careful attention to how balance is lost and how reactivity is triggered. I'll give you an example of this that I use. That's what I was doing, and he described it. I got out. I was out riding my bike. It's one of the few things I could do now. I'm down on the greenway, riding my bike, riding along, and all of a sudden I notice, I'm mindful, I'm caught up in this idea of self-righteous anger. I cannot believe these people think this way. I can't believe they won't do this. I don't understand it. This is the right way to do this. And when I noticed that, I noticed a couple things. I noticed, first of all, it was my mindfulness that noticed that I was caught up in self-righteous anger. Then what I did, I went, this is self-righteous anger doing this. This is not me. I kind of divorced mine. I said, this is just self-righteous anger getting all caught up in this. No, now I do love my self-righteous anger, so don't get me wrong, but it's very deceptive because it's not healthy. It's not beneficial. So we have to see it for what it is. The other thing that I think when that happens is that the thought that came up, I must have seen something that morning on social media or in the news, and it comes up. And this thought must have come up. I didn't think that thought. I was in there thinking these things. It just comes up. So it comes up. The thought comes up. Self-righteous anger gets a hold of it, and then it'll start going. Then I'm mindful and say, okay, what has happened? I'm off balance. I'm out of the moment. I'm not in the park riding my bike, exercising. I'm all somewhere else. So when I'm mindful, I can come back. So I can see what's triggering that. And as I see it with my mindfulness, I can come back and get some type of balance or equanimity. So our mindfulness meditation practice, when I'm looking at when I'm using it this way, instead of trying to get to this ideal of being perfectly calm, I can see what triggers me and what breaks me up, takes me off balance. So the second thing I do that I reflect upon a good bit during this time is I do reflect upon the law of karma. The idea of law of cause and effect. If I act with wholesome intentions, I will create less suffering. If I act with unwholesome intentions, I'll create more suffering. And what this does for me is like, this is kind of a working out of everybody's karma. They're working out what's going on. I do have a little bit of control here. I can see what's going to happen in the next moment. What I do, if I'm doing it with wholesome intentions, will create less suffering. And if I'm aware of that, if I'm mindful of that, it begins to see that I'm the owner of my karma. And then I see everybody's working out their own karma. And that gives me a little bit of spaciousness around that. Everybody's working this out. And it's not always what I want for you. You've got to work out your own karma. And so when I look at things, I go, like, everybody's kind of working out their own karma. The third thing that I do is, and that's because I like history, is I started reflecting on history. And we look at this. We've been through pandemics before. We've been through economic downturns before. We've been through political divisiveness before. I know a lot of us were around during the Vietnam War and what the country was going through at that time and how divided we were. So what is this? This is a big view of impermanence, is what it is for me. And here again, it starts to change my perspective on things. That if I'm caught up in what I think is this is awful, this is the way it is, and I can step back and get that bigger picture, that you pack a picture of things and go, this is impermanence. This is what happens. This is what happens in life. There's a verse in the Tao Te Ching which kind of describes this. This is a part of this verse. It says, there's a time for being ahead, a time for being behind, a time for being in motion, a time for being at rest, a time for being vigorous, a time for being exhausted, a time for being safe, a time for being in danger. The master sees things as they are without trying to control them. She lets them go their own way and resides at the center of the circle. So that's from the Tao. So I really do enjoy this idea of the history kind of showed this broad view of impermanence, not just the day-to-day impermanence, but this how these cycles of history and life give me some that I'm not so fixed on this, what's going on right now. And the fourth thing that I do, or that I have a perspective on, is the idea of action. That I can take action, that I can do something. Even though that said, we kind of let the world go, I can do something through my karma, through my intentions. A lot of the Brahma Viharas have near and far enemies. The near enemy of equanimity is indifference. Jack Kornfield explains it this way. Equanimity is the willingness to be in life, but to be spacious and open, to have a vast perspective and say, yes, here I am, showing up, caring, and loving, but I'm not in control of this game. True equanimity is not withdrawal. It is a balanced engagement with all aspects of life. It is opening to the whole of life with composure and ease of mind, accepting the beautiful and terrifying nature of all things. It eliminates clinging and inversion. So when we think of equanimity, sometimes in this, we think, okay, I'm sitting here on my cushion, I've gotten to this real centered place, and everything's okay, and I don't care what goes on in the world. Well, that's part of it. But equanimity is getting engaged, being able to go out into the world and being engaged. The Sufis have a saying, praise Allah and tie your camel to the post. Praise Allah and tie your camel to the post. To me, this means, yes, I can meditate, but then I have to do what is necessary in this world. So the idea that I do take action, and if it's coming from a centered place of wholesome intentions, it will make a difference. And then the last thing that I do, that you hear me talk about a lot, the fifth thing, is the idea of gratitude. My gratitude practice is a great way to, when I'm getting caught up in things, I want to go out to eat, I can't visit with these people, what am I going to do? I can always come back and say, I'm not hungry, I've got a place to stay, I got a place here. Gratitude is a great way for me to bring back myself to balance, to this equanimity, to come back to just this moment and say, this moment is sufficient in and of itself. This moment is fun. This moment, everything, I am grateful for so many things just in this moment. That is a great way to help restore your balance. For me, to restore my balance and my equanimity is a gratitude practice. And that could be just being aware of it when it happens, or it could be you get up in the morning and say, 3 or 4 things that you're grateful for, or you do it before you go to bed at night and say, here's 3 or 4 things that I'm grateful for this day. And they can be very simple things: a good night's sleep, a nice meal, just very simple things that we can use gratitude for. So those are some of the things that I do to try to, during this hectic time that we're in, to try to maintain some balance or equanimity. These are from our practice, our meditation and mindfulness practice. This reflection on the law of karma and how things work out. Our perspective on impermanence, the big impermanence, how things change, how events change through history. And the fact that I can take action, that I can do something about this, and that I have a degree of gratitude about whatever happens. Now, there's one thing that I didn't get into here on all of this, but it pretty overlays all of this. And I'm just going to mention it because I just want to be aware of it. Is that when we're out of balance, we're out of equanimity, we're in our activity, there's usually a very strong sense of self involved. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just going to be aware of it, that there's a strong sense of selfing going on when all this happens. So I hope those are helpful for you. And I'm going to end tonight with 5 things from this person that was answering this question. His name is Avis Viswanathan, and I'm not exactly sure who he is. I looked him up, but he says, how do you last through a torrid time in life? And he gave us 3 things to do. Number 1, accept the reality that you are in the throes of a crisis. Stop wishing that it doesn't exist. Acceptance always delivers inner peace. Know that the storm will always be strong. By even thinking of its ferocity, you are only going to feel debilitated. At the epicenter of a storm, it is always calm. Find that center, your center. That's where you will find strength. Your center is where you lose sense of time, place, and thought. Art, anything that makes you come alive is where you can find that. Your meditation can do that. Number 4, trust the process of life. Do what you can do without losing your inner peace. And number 5, no matter how intense it is, no storm lasts forever. All storms pass. So be patient, surrender completely, let go, and offer yourself to be led by life. Now, if you have any questions or comments, you can use the chat function. Welcome to make any comments, and I'll pull those up. I'll go ahead and do the announcements real quickly if things come up. I think. Um, 2 weeks from tonight, we will be having Bhikkhu Bodhi speaking with us through Zoom. Bhikkhu Bodhi is an incredible, he does all of the translations that we talked about during the Sutta summer, a lot of the translations. He's very engaged with the world. He'll be here at, we'll be starting at 7 o'clock for that one. So be sure to be here at 7 o'clock. We'll be doing the instruction period. We'll be here at 7 o'clock. The talk is Changing the Mind, Change the World. He will inquire into the particular Buddhist teachings that can form a theoretical basis for engaged Buddhism and the ways these teachings can be applied to the work of creating a more just and more sustainable world. So that's what we have from him now, so I'm sure it'll be interesting. We have a community service event. Second Harvest Food Bank will be on Saturday, August the 15th from 9 to noon. They're telling us that Second Harvest has the CDC guidelines set up for that. So you have to kind of see where we are at that point and then see if that's something you want to participate in. There'll be some more information on the website about that. So check our website, imcharlotte.org, for other events and changes to event. And as always, we do have on the website, you can donate there to help continue the Sangha's work. I'll check to see if there's any. I'm on my iPad. Okay, good. No questions, but everybody seems to be. Oh, what areas of history you most and why? The thing, I just enjoy history, about any type of history, but like I said, I'd heard about what got me this one was I'd always heard about the Spanish flu influenza, and I just had heard about it, but I didn't know about it. And when I started looking at it, how incredible, dreadful, and dangerous that was, but it begins to see but I like all kinds of history. There's no particular type. I don't focus on any one type, like the World War II, something like that. I just get real enjoy history, but it does help give me perspective on things. I have to chat tube. The lineage of insight meditation, we are in the Theravadan tradition of Buddhism. Buddhism really has a couple. There's Theravadan and Mahayana, and most of the things are in Mahayana. We're in the Theravadan tradition, which is what we consider it's the tradition of the elders. It's the older tradition, and we also, the Thai forest tradition is the one that kind of maintained this tradition over the years. Has kind of made, and that's why a lot of people from here went over there. The early practitioners from the West went over there and studied with Ajahn Chah and came back. I believe Goldstein and Cornfield both might have studied with him, or they've studied with people that were students of his, like Ajahn Amare. That's but Theravadan is where you'll find our lineage, and insight meditations within that. Okay. All right. No more questions. Like I said, a lot of the practices, these are things that are from our teachings. These are from our teachings, what we've been working with. They're available to you. And I'm sure people have other practices that they're working with. These are just some of the things that I've been working with that have been up for me. So what I thought I would do tonight, instead of doing our metta meditation, I'm going to kind of do something a little bit different. We're going to do an equanimity meditation. And it is briefer, but it does follow the same type of meditation where you do it for yourself, for someone else, and for the world, but they're different phrases. So if everybody would kind of get comfortable again. All the comments people are out here are great comments. There's, it's very helpful. So take a moment to kind of center yourself. Here you want to, for the equanimity practice, you want to kind of begin by reflecting on the benefit of a mind that has balance and equanimity. Sense what a gift it can be to bring a peaceful heart or a peaceful mind to the world around you. In other words, be that center. Be, the world as things are going around. What a gift it would be if you could bring, not only to yourself, but to other people, to bring some sense, that balance, that equanimity. Let yourself feel an inner source sense of balance and ease. And for myself, we'll say these phrases, and you can say these to yourself silently afterwards. May I be balanced and at peace. May I be open . May I learn to see the arising and passing of all nature with equanimity and balance. And while you you can deeply love and care for others, in the end, their happiness and suffering depend on their thoughts and actions. So add this phrase: your happiness and suffering depend on your thoughts and actions, and not my wishes for you. Now direct this equanimity toward others, to another person or group of people. May you learn to see the arising and passing of all things with equanimity and balance. May you be open, balanced, and peaceful. Now expand your own field of equanimity to the whole world. May I bring compassion and equanimity to the events of the world. May I find balance and equanimity and peace amidst it all. I wish you equanimity and peace. Thank you for joining us tonight.